A lot is going on in the world today, including a possible ceasefire in Israel and all along those lines, but a number of other things are taking place as well. So, Hamas has accepted a draft agreement for a Gaza ceasefire and the release of hostages, according to officials in that area. And Israeli hostage families are holding out hope after a roller coaster negotiation. So, it looks like there may be a deal on the table, according to what Qatar is saying. So, we'll see if this all goes through, and if that war at least goes on a somewhat of a sabbatical or takes a break, and all along those lines. But it'll be interesting to see how things go in that space. And rescuers are trying to free men trapped in a South African gold mine, with definitely scores reported to be in that area, and at least 100 illegal miners have died while trapped in a South African mine for months, according to what a human rights group is saying, and everything like that. And it was a abandoned South African mine at that. So definitely a lot of people will be paying attention to that on the world news as well. And UK is to meet the fiscal rules at all times, Treasury chief says. So, according to Chancellor Rachel Reeves, she is facing the MPs amid market nerves. So, Reeves says the UK must go further and faster in search of economic growth. And she shrugs off calls for her resignation, and she promises a UK growth plan. And North Korea's suicide soldiers pose new challenge for Ukraine in war with Russia. So North Korean soldiers captured in Ukraine haven't shown desire to defect. And North Korea soldiers in Russia resort to suicide amid capture of first PEOWs by Ukraine. So that's something else that we're seeing in the news as well. And it looks like a secret UK file detailing confessions of the Cambridge Five spies has been released. Queen Elizabeth told wasn't told about the Soviet spy in her palace, a declassified M15 files show. So M15 files are suggesting the Queen was not briefed on spy in the royal household for 9 years, and she was kept in dark over palace traitor Anthony Blunt, according to what declassified documents have revealed. And international underwater cable attacks by Russia and China are no mere coincidence, warns EU's top diplomat. And Sweden is to contribute up to three warships to reinforce NATO presence in the Baltic. So that's something else that we're seeing, as well as NATO launches a new naval operation in the Baltic Sea after the whole incident with the severed cables. And Mahamp Mela, a world's largest gathering, has begun in India. So first Amaranth Sanan held over 3.5 Siroy devotees take the holy dip in Sangam on Makar Sankranti. So definitely it looks like some people are even folks are planning a last minute trip to that area as well for this 2025 event. And over 20 million people performed the holy dip ritual at that particular event. And Putin's energy empire suffers a triple blow. So oil prices slip as Russian sanctions stay in focus. Oil ship rates surge after U.S. sanctions hit availability. So definitely a lot of people are talking about that in the news and how that will impact them and all along those lines. So definitely a lot of people are paying attention to this and seeing how things are going to go in that regard. So a lot of folks are definitely paying attention to the what's taking place in the war in Russia and Ukraine. And I know that later on, Sasha Starr will be joining us, and he'll be having a report on that in his show, which is every Tuesday and Friday at 11 o'clock. So definitely, they're saying oil prices slip as Russia's sanctions stay in focus, and oil shipping rates surge after U.S. sanctions hit availability. In southern Japan was hit by a strong quake near the Nankei-Tro region, and Miyazaki quake falls short of triggering Nanko-Tro megaquake advisory. So a magnitude 6.6 earthquake shocked Japan, prompting tsunami warnings on yesterday. And Biden said he's leaving Trump a stronger U.S. So Biden looks at his foreign policy record and approves. So Biden says Trump administration officials are dead wrong on climate threat as it happens. So definitely a lot of people are paying attention to the climate as well. And Ukraine strikes Russia in a major drone and missile attack. Russia media And officials report Ukraine target Russia's industrial plants and ammunition depots in a massive strike overnight. So that's something else that we're seeing in the news as well. And Lebanon's Prime Minister designate Nawaf Salam promises to rescue, reform, and rebuild. Lebanon's new prime minister vows to extend state control all over Lebanese soil. So definitely that'll be interesting to see how that plays out as well. And definitely Pope Francis's new autobiography traces his roots and his rise to the Vatican. The abuse, corruption, dark dealings. Pope Benedict handed scandal documents to Francis. So Pope Francis tells in the memoirs how the documents were handled. And definitely, it looks like this autobiography that was long in the making has now arrived in the bookstores. And a dramatic showdown looms in South Korea as Yoon faces impeachment trial. So South Korea begins impeachment trial against a suspended president. A South Korean leader has shunned the trial as he tries to hold off detention. And Kate Middleton surprised cancer patient at same hospital where she was treated. So Kate thanks staff at cancer hospital where she was treated, and definitely she made an emotional visit to the Royal Marsden Hospital where she received her own cancer treatment in that way. And Spain's is in the news. I've got to see what Nick's got to say about this because apparently they have too many Airbnbs and all along those lines. So that is one of the news stories that I saw is there are too many Airbnbs. Spain's prime minister wants up to 100% property tax on foreign buyers. So Spain will tackle its rich landlords and poor tenant problem by hiking property taxes to 100% for non-Europeans. So I don't know if this could be an issue for Nick or not because Spain is trying to limit its real estate purchases by non-EU residents. So that's something else that's in the news as well. Get to some U.S. news, and then, of course, we've got the fires going on there in California, even though they are glad the Los Angeles Rams did beat my team and beat them handily. So the Los Angeles Rams handed the Minnesota Vikings a defeat and ended the Vikings season. But definitely now the Rams will continue and go into the divisional round. I'm trying to remember who they'll be playing. I think that's right. They'll be playing Philadelphia, and the Washington Commanders will be playing the Detroit Lions on that side of the table and everything. And then I've got to remember who it is on the AFC side, but there are 4 teams over there, including Kansas City, who is the favorite and everything like that. But I believe it's Baltimore and Buffalo that are playing against each other. And then Kansas, I believe, is playing the Texans. So if I'm remembering correctly, that is where that will be going. So those 8 teams are now vying to narrow it down to about 4 teams. And then we'll have the down to 2 teams, and then it'll be time for the Super Bowl in February. But as high winds bear down on LA forecasters, they're calling the fire danger about as bad as it can get. We're not in the clear yet. Los Angeles facing extreme fire danger as high winds return. And a special counsel report says that Trump would have been convicted in election case. So that's the top 5 takeaways from Jack Smith's final report on Trump's January 6th case. So definitely they're saying that he would have been convicted and all along those lines. And the Newsnight panel gives its predictions for confirmation hearings because definitely a lot of people are going up for hearings, including some that might be in trouble and everything. So the Senate is holding confirmation hearings for Trump defense pick Pete Hedges, and he's facing senators in a high-stake confirmation hearing. So he just apparently has made his opening statement for his confirmation hearing. And Hunter's drug use can't explain away not paying taxes on money earned by last name. So Hunter Biden special counsel hits out a president selective prosecution claim, and definitely the prosecutor who investigated Hunter Biden defends the probes and denounces the president's comments and everything. So he's a special counsel. David Weiss defends his investigation as impartial in a final report on the Hunter Biden probe. And make Greenland great again, Trump's House GOP allies unveil a bill to authorize the country's purchase. The U.S. buying Greenland takes official turn as Trump to get powers to negotiate. So Trump is fixated apparently on Greenland, a vast Arctic island with massive resource potential. So their prime minister said Greenland is ready to cooperate with Trump. That's what their prime minister said. So maybe Greenland is going to become a part of the United States. I don't know how the folks in Puerto Rico is going to feel about that, since they've been trying to become a state for a long time, at least those that are supportive of the state movement, even though there's others that are supportive of an independence movement. And U.S. lawmakers are urging Biden to extend the TikTok January 19th ban deadline. And definitely it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and all along those lines. And last but not least, before I bring in my esteemed panel for today, 89th Texas legislative session has begun today in Austin, and budget estimates are opening the path for life changing decisions for Texans by lawmakers. So we'll see how this all plays out as well and what goes on in that particular situation and in that way. But I'm gonna bring in Nick first and everything like that. I've also got Rick. Nick, are you at all worried about this real estate stuff and the Airbnb case that's going on in your now home country of Spain? Because I was going to ask you about that when I read that story, because apparently they are trying to go after folks that are not from there and everything. They've got some high rates of things that they want to put on in terms of taxes and things like that. So I didn't know if you've been reading or following this story and what your thoughts are, and you're on mute and everything. You're on mute.
Thanks, Mark. They're going after non-residents.
Right.
Okay. And see, we got our residency card. That's the reason it was pretty important that we get the residency card, because otherwise you could buy here, but it could be very difficult. They're going after non-residents, but let me tell you why.
Yes.
The foreigners, I guess I'm one of them technically, but basically what happens, Mark, is 27,000 homes were bought by people outside of Spain, and then they turn around and turn them into Airbnbs for daily rental. Here's what happens. It drives up the real estate prices, and the long-term renters, they can't afford places to rent. So you can imagine if a bunch of Chinese came to LA, where Rick is, and they just started buying homes. And what they do is they start buying them and they're renting them out as Airbnbs. That'll just drive up the LA real estate prices. So here's what Spain's solution was. Now, I've talked about it before, that Spain has a very interesting tax, which the United States should really adopt. When you go buy a house, you got to give Spain 10% of the value of the house right off the bat. Okay? They should do the same thing in the US. But what they're going to do, if you're not a resident, it jumps to 100%. If you're a young person, it drops to 5%. So like if you're under age 35 and you're a first-time home buyer, it's not 10%, it's 5%. The United States doesn't have any taxes like that. They have real estate taxes, but they don't have transmission acquisition taxes. And the problem I have with DOGE is they're disingenuous. They say, well, we're going to, solve the budget problem, and they're going to solve the debt problem. But they do not look at something very important. That's to increase revenues. One way to increase revenues is they got to shoot themselves in the face. And that's by lifting the cap on Social Security and having the Social Security tax applied to capital gains, dividends, and interest, and have no cap. Now, anybody who makes that statement has to have chutzpah. Nobody in Congress has it. Or they have to have, first of all, they have to understand the Social Security system and the Medicare system going broke. Then what they have to do is they have to have the courage, and none of them do, to say that we need to lift the cap on Social Security taxes and start making these billionaires and decamillionaires and centimillionaires pay their fair share, rather than building big homes in the Pacific Palisades, have them burn down, and then ask taxpayers.
Well, there's a couple of things I want to ask you about, and maybe Rick's, because it's one of his favorite topics, and the story that I didn't. It's the story that I didn't get to and everything, but I was just wondering, because Biden has opened federal land for AI data centers, and he set the rules for developers. So he's signed an executive order aimed at growing the AI infrastructure in the U.S., and they'll be boasting the construction of that. And I know you've been against Internet for All, so are you against AI for all? Because apparently we're going to have some AI stations all over.
He's just saying you can build stuff there. Okay. That's good. The U.S.
Obviously, you're not listening carefully to what I say. You're listening to what you want to hear. I have no problem with Internet for all. I'm all for it. But it's not the federal government's function to pay for your Internet. That's the problem I have with it. So if the people in Nome, Alaska want the Internet, they need to go beg Google or beg Microsoft or beg an ISP to install it for them. but do not ask Washington, D.C. to come in and pay for your internet. So,
Well, what about these AI data? What
Well,
about these AI
here's
data
the
centers?
deal.
They're on
Here's
federal land.
It's perfectly clear. I'm totally for internet for all, but it's not a government function.
But
It's
I
a
just said
function.
that they're going to put them on
Here's the
federal
deal.
land.
Hold
a
on.
second.
Here. Let me. You asked a question. Let me answer.
Yeah.
So each of the past three presidents, Obama, Trump, and Biden, each added about $8 trillion to the deficit, and we've got a huge budget deficit. And Trump has no plans to really seriously. He's got Musk on the case, but Musk won't be able to reduce our spending by more than a couple $100 billion. So one of the only ways to reduce the impact of the deficit, if we're not going to do anything about reducing the deficit itself, is to try to grow our way out of it. And the most effective way to grow our way out of it, and to keep pace with countries like China and India, is to become even stronger in tech, which means building these AI places, which means coming out and just becoming the world's leader in AI. And we got to do it.
It's not the government's
last time.
function. It's not the government's function to build AI. And if
No, but he's not saying, he's just saying, here, this land, you can use this land to put your
I have no problem. I have no problem with them leasing the land so that the government gets revenue. I do have problem with the disingenuous, we're going to, quote, do an investment, and then they do big government giveaways because it's not an investment. By the
But
way,
Nick,
Joe
hold on
Biden-
a second, because I want to get some clarity on everything. Because if I understand correctly,
Yeah.
was it the Research Triangle Park? Because that's what he's talking about. He's talking about using federal land for AI centers and everything like that. And if I remember correctly, the Research Triangle Park where we were at, I think that was a partnership between both public and private, and there was some federal land or state land that was involved in the creation of that. I'll have to do my research, but it seems to me the Research Triangle Park was created under one of our more liberal governors and everything like that, and it's now seen
so
as like
I just looked at the article, and he's not giving the land to people. It's for leasing. So yeah,
Right. I'm good. See, I'm good with that, Rick. Okay, what I'm not good with is when the federal government says we're going to, quote, make an investment, and it's not truly investment. It's a giveaway. It's a lie. It's like the Inflation Reduction Act. Biden finally admitted it was a lie. It was just a way they could move money over to climate change. And it did not reduce inflation. It increased it. So if they would stop just pure out lying, I'd be okay with it. So if they're doing leasing, I have no problem. And I'm totally for internet for all if the private industry does it or the federal government charges people. But there's nothing that says we're going to provide internet.
I'm coming in late to this conversation. Can you help me out? Can you help me out and point out when Biden said that the Inflation Reduction Act was just for climate?
It's simple, to be honest with you. Go on, Chita. Yes.
No, I mean, I'm coming in late to the conversation. Can you help me out where because you just stated that Biden said that it was all a lie and the Inflation Reduction Act wasn't about inflation reduction, it was about climate. Can you help me out? When did Biden say that?
Okay. Yeah, well, let's show you what good thing he did was good. He's going to lease the land to AI. That means the government's going to get revenue. That part I agree with Joe. Totally for it. Revenue for the U.S. government, lease the land for AI, no problem. Here was the lie, and it's a $368 billion lie. We're going to create this Inflation Reduction Act, and it was a massive giveaway to climate change advocates of $368 billion, which frankly, the United States can't afford. And then they labeled it the Inflation Reduction Act. Go do your research on it. And the thing is, when I saw that, I was going like, you've got to be kidding. But this is not unusual. In other words, it's not just Joe. Donald does it. They all do it. In other words, the minute you're a politician, basically, you might as well say, I'm a liar, because they have no respect for the truth whatsoever. It's just ridiculous. And
I mean,
the media doesn't hold anybody accountable. They just go, Okay, that's the way it is.
Well,
Why?
speaking of all,
No,
all
no,
this-
wait. Just to stay on this real quick, because this is where we get tied up in misinformation, disinformation,
Yeah,
and
okay.
pushing a narrative that's always that same narrative. For example, the narrative that's going on in talking about, oh well, we should come for the hit, we should fire Gavin Newsom, we should fire Karen Bass, and all this other stuff. Yet Ted Cruz walked away clean going to Cancun and still didn't get yelled at for being fired. Greg Abbott didn't get yelled at for being fired when people in Texas were being kids in Texas were getting shot up. None of that was being fired, but yet we're going to talk about being fired of Gavin Newsom and all these other people. You know, curiosity. So instead of us just pushing a narrative, let's try and educate a little bit more and add a little bit more context. Because Nick, you made an allegation, and I would love. I mean, I'm right now. You said 380 billion Inflation Reduction Act was a giveaway to the greenhouse reduction or environmentalists. But I'm trying to find that. I'm trying to figure out where that is. So that's why, I mean, I would like to know more so I could be upset as well.
Okay, well, you can go to the internet and you go to what they call vital signs. Okay, but you can go to the internet and just do your research on it, but please check more than one source because, as we well know, the internet knows all, but also there's a lot of factual distortion. And the thing is, it goes here. Well, on August 16th, President Biden signed the biggest package of climate, quote, investments, which is a lie, in the U.S. history. The Inflation Reduction Act includes $369 billion in funding to tackle climate change and brings America closer to Biden's goal of cutting climate pollution in half by 2030. Okay,
But
so you know
wait,
the thing is, it is what it is out there, and he didn't get challenged for this at all. And by the way, it was obviously supported by Congress and everybody clapping their hands, and a lot of it even goes to your friend Elon Musk. You know, so he's ripping people off on the right side.
so hold on, Nick. Now, what I'm finding out is this 369 billion in investment because what you're calling a
It's
giveaway.
not an investment.
No.
Please
Again,
don't use that
you're
word.
trying to play the semantic game and push a narrative. What I'm trying to do is find out the actual information, and the actual information is
All
saying
right, we've
that
already been. We've
on-
already.
I just want better information because it says that it's related to programs including tax credits, which again, that's an investment. I mean, that's what we call it anyway. Research
no,
loans,
tax
a
credits
loan
are-
is an investment. It's
Okay,
not a
hold
giveaway.
on. Let's
We have grants that
more.
grants to
Right,
increase
so this
domestic
is old news.
manufacturing.
You guys are going around in circles on something from 4 years ago. Let's talk about today's news with Pete Hegseth in front of the Senate for
Yes.
hearings where they're talking about, like, you know, like the guy who introduced him, a congressman from a former senator from Minnesota, said people can change. If the person who's introducing and defending you says, yeah, well, he used to suck, but maybe he won't suck this time, that's not a great freaking candidate. This,
Yeah, I agree.
So who's not a great candidate?
Pete
Pete
Hegseth for Secretary of Defense.
Oh, is that one of the Trump nominees?
Yeah,
one of
and
the Trump nominees.
he's been in trouble for he paid off a woman for a sexual assault while he was drunk. He's
Okay,
been fired
right.
from jobs for being drunk. He's never ranked higher than a major, which means he's never led more than 40 troops at once.
Okay, I got it. Name a good nominee that Trump has made so far to an executive position.
I don't know.
I can't think of
Okay.
one.
All I see is what Twitter tells me. There's somebody, actually, like Linda McMahon. So, all right, I'll defend Linda McMahon for Secretary of Education. Yeah,
But
she
I
ran
disagree with
the.
that. I would disagree with that, but I can actually answer your question. I can actually answer your question, Nick, because he actually has he's made a decent like with Marco Rubio dealing with Cuba. That's his wheelhouse. He's from Florida. So Marco Rubio and Cuba, that's fine. Linda McMahon, we've already been over this multiple times. She's not a good pick for the education secretary. If you take the kid out of Texas, I think he's out of Texas, that he put in charge of Hood or HUD, the only black guy that he chose. He's actually a decent choice for that area. Pete Hegseth is not. He's far from it. So there are individuals that he has picked that are actually decently qualified and actually should be able to go across. But Pete Hegseth, he's not that. RFK, he's not that. Kristi Noem, she's not that. The other individuals that are out there, the lady from Hawaii, she's not that.
Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard, not that. There are, again, it's not about being partisan. It's about looking at the legitimate qualifications and the legitimate person who's being suggested. This dude, Pete Hegseth, from sexual abuse to drunkardness, said his big quote, "I won't drink on the job," or what did he say? What was the full quote? It was something.
He said no more drinking. He said I won't drink anymore if he gets the job.
Yeah. Okay, dude, you're drunk today, but you're not going to be drunk if we hire you. Yeah, okay, we believe that.
Okay. All right. So what you're saying, Jacoby and Rick, if I'm listening correctly, that his ability to select the best and the brightest is poor at best, would you say?
Well, okay, unless he's playing four-dimensional chess, like his defenders like to say, that he nominated this terrible, terrible candidate, and that's the one that's going to get killed off, so his other candidates can get through.
Even more so,
I don't buy that, but
he claimed to select the best and the brightest on the first go round. The best and the brightest quit on him, called him a fascist, said that they would never vote for him again. And now he's not picking the best and the brightest.
He's not the best and the brightest.
Yes.
I did have a quick question for Sasha, but before I get to that quick question, I got a quick question for Nick, and it comes back to the Supreme Court, one of his favorite places and everything, because I know that you've been big on the difference between federal laws and state laws, and apparently that group of states actually out near where one of your territories is was wanting to take control of certain properties, because I know that one of the places that your business is located is in Utah, but the Supreme Court rejected in Utah and Wyoming's claim on federal public land. So apparently they wanted to take over the land that the federal government has and wanted to have it as state controlled land, but the Supreme Court rejected that. So maybe this is another case of us, the federal government is spending money that they don't need to spend, and maybe they should turn it over to the state. But I just wanted your take on that, because apparently your favorite people, the Supreme Court, have rejected Utah and Wyoming's claim on federal public land. And I think that includes some historical monuments and everything, if I'm remembering my geographies correctly.
Yeah, it's not their land. Okay. So the states can't just jump up and say, hey, I want the federal land now. So if they didn't, they struck it down. They didn't rightfully so. Also, I have to agree with Jacoby, and I agree with Rick. Your friend Donald Trump does not choose his star players wisely. If he was a football coach, he's dragging the bomb. Now, here's how he's choosing them, though. He's choosing them for their media appeal, or their name recognition, or political payback. But in terms of meritocracy, he does not choose his team very well. So if he was a football team, he'd have a horrible team, because I looked at his choices and he's not choosing wisely. He's choosing for political reasons, political payback, big name recognition, billionaires that are richer than he is, and that it makes them all feel good. But in terms of pure, strong qualifications to lead the United States of America, forget it.
Well, speaking of people leading America, before I get to people leading America, before I get to Sasha's question and everything like that, what is your thoughts on? Apparently, she's going to be making her political state of the state address. Kathy Hochul, everything in New York, and some people are saying that she's facing political headwinds, and I guess she's trying to put it out that she's doing good in New York, and therefore should possibly get some new terms. So she's going to examine New York's future, but also her own future and everything. So does she have any national aspirations, and if so, can she get past the stereotypes that people have about New York?
I don't know. Bring her on the show and we'll talk to her.
We'll talk to her. We'll see if we can get
I
her
don't
on.
know much about the New Yorkers and New York politics, but the thing is, we have DEI, which is a pretty bad policy. It's diversity, equity, inclusion. Then we have DTT. What's that? Well, that's pretty bad too. It's called Dumber Than Trump. Okay, and those are bad choices also as well.
I'll give you Dumber Than Trump. DEI can't get you. DEI is what
you got to get people dumber than him to fill positions. DTT, Dumber Than Trump.
Dumber Than Trump. That's a new term. Dumber
Yeah,
Than
that's
Trump.
a new term. It's like it's the Republican version of DEI. Okay, you got to bring people in dumber than Trump to run the United States of America. That's really pretty stupid. It's pretty sad.
Well,
anyway,
you'll love this one, Jacoby. You'll love this one, Jacoby. Apparently, some of the incarcerated people that are fighting incarcerated inmates that are fighting the fire in LA were inundated with video games following their interview. But apparently, maybe they use video games as part of their training and everything like that. So over the weekend, Twitch streamer Hassan Piker and Carolyn Kwan interviewed a crew of those firefighters, which were nearly 1,000 incarcerated firefighters. So they've had 1,000 firefighters that were incarcerated, and apparently some video game person came out there and helped them get some recognition, and they found out that they were hideously underpaid and that simple pleasures like video games help make their lives more bearable. So that's actually a way that video
good for
games
everybody in this. Yeah, the inmate firefighters get paid $5 to $10 a day for being out on the fire lines for 14 hours and getting hit, at risk of getting crisped and just miserable conditions. Sure, let them have video games.
And that's what apparently that's what happened. This led to a call from video game donations from well-meaning, and I guess this is a major Twitch streamer, Piker fans and collaborators. So they have inundated that particular camp, Washington Ridge 44, with video games. So they've been hit with tons of video games, I guess, to help them get by and everything like that. So apparently they're now swimming in games for its PlayStation 4. And everything like that. So I guess in this,
so my wife watches way too much. It's all fire coverage all the time. My wife watches way too much of it, so the anxiety level in my house is very high. I keep buying I bought an extra hose. We now have 2 hoses, new nozzles. If we have to water down the house, we had the trees cut back. My wife cut down all the rose bushes so they don't set the house on fire. I bought fire retardant duct tape so I can start wrapping things like the posts on our porch, which are made of wood, in case so our posts don't start a fire. I got I found out we got a chainsaw in our garage, so I fired that thing up in case we have to start cutting down trees so they don't burn our place down.
So it's been affecting me also, Rick, because even though I'm in Spain, my pension company, we do more business in Southern California than every place in the United States. I was up till 2 a.m. trying to reschedule appointments around because the people we were doing appointments with were in LA dodging fires, like no kidding.
Yeah.
So at the end of 2 a.m, we're rescheduling it again today because in your neck of the woods, we've got a lot of our clients who are dodging fires there right now. I hope your fires are over with so I can do my appointments.
So we got high winds starting within the next couple hours, and there's a fire going in Ventura, the next county over, Ventura County, that's going to be exacerbated by the winds. In LA, when you get a bunch of fires, you get a lot of little fires where crazy people are like excited and they go and they set. So we'll see.
Did you see what happened to Malibu? Are those pictures true? It looks like Malibu was wiped out also as well. Is that true?
Malibu is the Palisades. That's a fire that burned. One fire burned about 45 square miles. Destroyed 5,000 homes. This latest round of fires, may cause over $100 billion worth of damage. Yeah. The only thing that survived in the Palisades is where a billionaire failed candidate for mayor hired private firefighters to save his shopping mall. Everything else burned.
No, everything else, Rick, along those same lines, and this is now becoming a political hot potato and everything, because apparently Speaker Mike Johnson is suggesting that there are conditions needed on the disaster aid for LA wildfires. So I guess he doesn't want to just give it willy-nilly or anything like that.
Some senators are freaking stupid and also political. Like, so maybe you could have, things could have been done better. We had a huge reservoir that wasn't filled, but it wouldn't have stopped this fire that was carried along by 80 to 100 mile an hour winds.
It's disturbing.
Why is it the federal government's function to bail out California? I mean, the thing is, you guys have insurance, or you should have insurance. You guys should have defended yourselves properly, like the Getty Museum. It's not a federal government function to allow millionaires and billionaires.
Are you saying the same thing to Florida with hurricanes, North Carolina with hurricanes?
Absolutely. And the thing is, my family's been affected by it, Rick. My brother lived on St. Pete Beach. He got hit by hurricane number 1. Why did he live on St. Pete Beach? He loves to live on the beach. So he had his $1 million home on St. Pete Beach. That's great. That's wonderful. He got hit with hurricane 1, and it hurt a little bit. And he rebuilt. And then guess what? He got hit with hurricane 2. You know what he did? He sold his bloody home and moved out. Do you know why? I don't know, because he won't tell me, but probably because he can't get insurance, and it's a stupid place to build your home. So it's not the federal government's function to go bail out people because they want to live on Malibu. And I want to give them a dime. Forget the conditions. There are no conditions. There is no federal funding. Good luck to you. Move somewhere else.
A couple of things.
Another topic to discuss.
No, a couple of things here, because it's really disturbing that, one, they would try and put conditions on this situation.
There's no conditions.
But hold on, let me finish real quick. It's disturbing in the fact that they would do that. Then because it's no more than just political gamesmanship. That's all it is. They didn't put conditions on hurricane relief when it came to Katrina. They didn't put conditions on Florida. They didn't put conditions on North Carolina, Georgia, or even Tennessee. They didn't put conditions on Texas with fires and ice. They didn't put conditions on Kentucky or even the Four Corner states with tornadoes. You can build differently, but they didn't put conditions. It was just California, because now they're talking about adding all this other crap. That is disgusting and disturbing for them to do that in the first place.
I see. So the government does something stupid, and they continue to do something stupid.
Hold on.
And your excuse is they did something stupid in the past, so they should continue doing things stupid.
Hold on, real quick though, Nick. The thing is, where that's built, that was actually a desert in the first place. So all this came way before, and it was actually the country itself that built that. So people living there, that was a country issue, and it's protected by the federal government. You live in the country, you want to be protected. Are you saying that only people who live in middle America can be protected? Oh, wait, tornadoes happen there. So now you can't be in that tornado area.
Let me talk about, I'm in California. I've been through this in that you said people should get private insurance. 11 insurance carriers dropped homeowners insurance in 2024 and 2023. So a lot of the people who got their homes destroyed, had their insurance dropped within the past 4 months, were scrambling to find a new carrier. And then they sign up for this California Fair Plan, which is this crap, it barely insures anything. And so these people had insurance. We had insurance. Our carrier dropped us. My wife is very organized. She contacted a dozen new carriers. We repiped our whole house. We replaced the plumbing in our house in order to get up to standards, and luckily found a company that would 10 companies turned us down for stupid reasons. They said we're in a hill zone. We're not on a hill. So the insurance, it's same as Florida. Insurance is a mess in Los Angeles. And maybe it makes people realize that maybe this isn't a good place to have a home, but you got to give people time to get the F out of there.
Hold on a second. It may not be a good place to have a a home. You don't have a right to have a home in an earthquake zone.
No.
It's
Yeah,
also
but it's not
You're missing
fair
the
to
point.
oh, what is the price?
You're
And
missing
you know what?
the.
Insurance
Here's where
companies
you're missing it, Nick.
conditions.
No, Nick.
man,
Here's
what
where
is
you're
the
missing
price
it.
for the government
Rick
inspection?
just explained to you that they got screwed by insurance companies that would not protect them, and they had to hunt and hunt and hunt. Not everybody has that opportunity to do that. So a lot of the people that ended up getting screwed are now left out to dry, who followed exactly what you're asking them to do, but they're getting screwed. So now you're saying, well, the federal government should screw them as well, because the federal government should just let them out to dry. That's not the way it's supposed to work. Why not ask for regulations around these insurance companies? Why not actually set up a system where, okay, we do have a bare minimum of insurance that can cover you? Hey, that's what the federal government is supposed to do. It's supposed to protect its people. But no, you're asking the federal government to screw its people just as those companies have screwed the people.
No, I'm asking the federal government not to screw me and all the other taxpayers that are supporting the idiots in California.
But you can use that term for anything.
That want to build their homes on the earthquake zones and fire zones and river
Do you
zones
realize,
because
Nick,
they're entitled
hold
to
on,
the sun and the
Nick,
fun. No.
do you use that?
It's
Hold on,
no
you're
problem,
asking
buddy.
again. You're saying that you don't want the federal government to screw you because these people built. You can use that for anything. I don't want the federal government to screw me to pay for somebody going to the emergency department. Oh, I don't want the federal government to screw me for paying for a road that's going to go way out west that I'm never going to use. So that's a useless argument. That's nitpicking, saying, hey, I want to be an isolated individual to live with the bear in the woods that never messes with me.
You're going to find it a very useful argument. There's a lot of people in the world that do not want to pay for the dreams of people in Southern California. What's this guy?
I don't want to pay for the people living in.
Wait, his friend Jimmy Kimmel.
I don't want to pay for the people living in the West.
On an earthquake zone in a fire plane.
I don't want to pay for the people living in the
pay for his own insurance. I'm not going to pay for Jimmy Kimmel.
No,
hold on a second. Nobody pay for his insurance.
Are you going to pay for the people in Texas? Are you okay paying for the people?
Hold a second. Just really quickly, because I'm getting ready to end this quick discussion and everything. But Nick, just really quickly, would you pay for the people in, because, I watched Wizard of Oz enough times and everything. Would you pay for the people that live in Kansas, Oklahoma, and places like that? Because that's definitely in Tornado Row. That's not where wealthy people necessarily live and everything. So would you pay for people like that?
If you're so stupid to put your home in a tornado zone and you want us to pay for your insurance, you're an idiot. Move the heck out of the tornado zone, dude.
But Nick, are you going to pay for the people that listen to Donald Trump?
A private insurance company.
Here's the good one. Are you going to pay?
It's not a federal government function.
No, are you going to pay for the? Are you going to pay? Are you okay paying for the people that listen to Donald Trump, ended up on poison control, ended up in the ER and couldn't pay for their doctor's visit? Because you have to pay for them too, but they listen to the federal government.
I have a question for Nick. I have a question for you, Nick. So
Rick Rosner wants to save his house.
All right,
and Jimmy Kimmel's house.
Changing conditions, like a lot of these houses that burned have stood for 60 years, and conditions are changing. What was a safe place, reasonable to build across America, our climate patterns are changing. So, it used to be safe to have houses in Florida and houses in Tennessee and houses, in certain parts of LA. Are you going to tell people that as conditions change and where they used to live safely, they can't anymore? Are you telling them tough luck? You've got to move now to reflect changing conditions?
Yes, sir. My brother moved out of St. Pete Beach. He went to Claremont, which is near Orlando, because of that. Because climate change has taken place, and now you have hurricanes that spawn off the Gulf of Mexico. Not just one, but several that used to never happen when I was a kid. And they hit West Florida. So your choice is to A, go tell Rick Rosner to pay for his insurance. Go tell Jacoby to pay for it. Go tell Mark Lee, guys, come up with some money and pay for my brother's beautiful home on St. Pete Beach. Or B, get the heck off the beach. He chose B, get off the beach. What you guys are all saying is you want to pay for my brother's house in St. Pete. And that's
Well, you have entire cities that are no longer safe. Houston, not safe. New Orleans, not safe. Miami, not
good. No, hold on a second. Everybody, hold on.
You made it really easy that your brother could move. You made it really easy that these individuals had extra home they can go into. What about the people that don't have that? What about the people who've lost everything? They don't have a place to go.
So what? He got his insurance and he sold his home for.
We just established that insurance is already screwing people.
So what are you going to do with the people that live in that area, Nick, that are poor and everything? So not everybody that lives in LA is rich. So what are you going to do with the poor people that live in LA or the poor people that live in Florida and all like that? Because not everybody is like got your kind of finances. So what are you going to do with the people that can't necessarily move? So Nick, what are you going to do with the people that can't move that are poor or middle class? Because a lot of middle class people can't even move from areas like that live on the beaches of North Carolina, the beaches of California, or even in areas. Come
on, you live on any beach in the United States. The value of your house is astronomical. If not, you're renting it.
It's burned down.
Right now, you never heard of Liberty City?
His house.
Nick, you never heard of Liberty City?
Liberty City's not on the beach, my friend. I grew up in. I didn't.
Yeah, but it's still in that area, Miami. I'm not saying beach property, but you're living in Miami.
Nick, so you're saying that the value of their home is astronomical. Yeah, it's gone.
Hey, dude, he sold his lot for like $650,000.
That's your brother. We're talking about people today. Their homes are gone. What are they going to sell?
Yeah, what are they going to sell? The homes gone. But hold on a second, because I did say I had one other thing. Hold on a second. I did say I had one other thing that I wanted to get to, and that was with Sasha. So really quickly, Sasha, what is your thoughts around this peace agreement? Because that's where I was going with you, Sasha, and everything, because apparently there is talk that there will be a peace agreement, and apparently Hamas has agreed to it. So are we going to see an end to the war in Israel? I know that later on you'll be talking about the Ukraine war and what's going on there, but is this going to be an end to the conflict in Israel and with both Hamas and Hezbollah? Because apparently they have agreed to at least tentative terms from what I've heard. But what are you hearing, and what do you think? Will this be at least a lull in the war in Israel?
It doesn't matter what I think about it. It's whether this peace agreement will take place. Probably it will. And whether it will be honored by both sides. Probably it will. And that basically move on to a next subject. I think there is nothing to discuss, really.
Okay, fair enough. So you think that could be peace there? Well, that'll be good and everything. So hopefully we'll see some peace in that realm and everything like that along those lines. Just really quickly, what do you think about Nick? And this is for you, since you don't like certain things that are federal and everything. Are you good with aircrafts being named after former presidents? Because apparently that's the other story that I did not get to. Is we're going to have a aircraft floating around named after both Bill Clinton and George W. Bush and everything. So as a matter of fact, his warship is going to be, I think it's called Mission Accomplished. Well, that's what, they say Biden names warship after George W. Mission Accomplished Bush, but that's probably not what they're calling the warship. But are you good with them naming warships after our past presidents?
I don't have any problems as long as we're not paying them for NIL contracts to have their name on a bloody ship. Okay, so if you're saying, well, we got to pay Bill Clinton to have his name on a ship, then I'm totally against it. If Bill Clinton goes, hey, you can use my name for free on the ship, I don't have any problem with it. See, the thing is, Mark, I believe in basic money grubbing principles, which I'm trying to get the liberals on this group to start understanding. Where is the cash going? If no cash is going out, hey, no problem. If cash is going out, problem. So the thing is, once you guys start understanding that, then you'll notice your life will go a lot better.
Well, by that same philosophy, you should be glad that the Supreme Court is declining to hear from oil and gas companies that are trying to block climate change lawsuits. Because apparently there's a number of folks that are, what just even Rick said, there's a number of places that climate change, and even you admitted, has impacted a lot of people around the world. So the Supreme Court is not going to allow the oil and gas companies, major industry, to actually try to block these lawsuits and everything. So I guess they're...
Well, the thing is, the United States is a contributor, but the biggest contributor is the person that we all send more money to than anyone else, and that's China. They make huge contributions to climate change, and we just ignore them. You can't do anything without China and India. India's polluted too. Wait a minute, these are the BRICS countries that we ignore: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, that we shouldn't ignore. So when the Donald comes in and slaps 100% tariffs on all, I'm all in favor of that, because just call it a climate change tariff, or as Jacoby would like to say, a climate change investment.
So just to add a little bit more
100%
context
climate
here,
change investment.
just to add a little bit more context here. So we did have the Paris Accord, which was affecting climate, which was dealing with climate change. Trump pulled out of the Paris Accord when he was in office the first time. BRICS came about when? After all that took place, and you're trying to tie BRICS to climate change, which really wasn't about climate change. China has made a huge investment in solar as well as batteries. And they still are a large producer of pollution. However, their investments in solar and batteries, and actually even wind turbines, is actually going to pay off. They actually lead in terms of EVs, because what is it, BDY or BYD, which is actually selling more cars than Tesla, and it's a Chinese electric vehicle. So they got more of those on the roads than we do. So the problem is that we're going to go now into the idea of doubling down even more, because what Biden did is he drilled more than Trump. He actually gave out more leases on oil and fossil fuels than Trump, which was against the stuff that he had said when he was campaigning. But he was trying to utilize that as a transition, which hopefully we'll start to see more nuclear fusion reactors come online or actually be built, because that is actually the electricity safer than actually what's out there in nuclear right now. The first one that's going up in the U.S. is happening in Virginia, but hopefully more will come online because it actually provides more power than the standard nuclear reactors that are out there now, and it also doesn't have the chemical waste that nuclear reactors have now. So in terms of clean energy, the more investment in that, which would be great, which is what that investment reduction thing that we started off, because now we're full circle, started off with.
Far away. We're still far away. We're still far away from fusion reactors. It might be a decade or more. It's ridiculously precise and complicated technology. Fission reactors they're simple as hell, though getting them so that they work without the possibility of a meltdown is more complicated. But we need nuclear reactors.
Yeah. By the way, you'll hear this first. There will not be any large tariffs on China, because here's the reason why. President Musk is not.
Yes.
Okay. Here's the reason why. You hear it on Pod TV only. The reason President Musk will not allow tariffs on China, the biggest Tesla factory is in Shanghai.
So that makes sense.
Let's do the political calculus. By the way, political calculus.
No, but I got your political calculus, Nick. But I just want to know, along those same lines,
his biggest plant in Shanghai, China. He doesn't want to disturb the relationships with China.
But I got a question about these tariffs. And it's actually for Sasha. Hold on a second. I got a question about the tariffs. It's actually for Sasha, because apparently, speaking of tariffs, Canada said it is ready to buy more American products to appease Trump's tariff threats, and that's what one of their ambassadors said. So he warns of a tit-for-tat retaliation to U.S. tariffs. So I just want to know, Sasha, are you going to be running across the border and buying a lot of things over here in the United States? Because that's what he's saying, is that he's asking, I guess, you Canadians to buy more American products as a way to appease this tariff. So I just want to know if you're going to be heading over the border quite a few times to buy things from Rick, buy things from Jacoby, and buy things from, well, you can't buy from Nick because Nick's over in Spain now. But are you going to be going across the border to buy a bunch of things now, since that's apparently what your ambassador is saying will be the result of these tariffs?
Well, ambassador has to say whatever ambassadors has to say. It's nothing at all reflecting what Canadians are now thinking about all this issue. The issue is not new. The previous Trump administration did about the same thing, maybe less aggressively so, but still. And who knows what's the next administration? Let's see if J.D. Vance will become a president or somebody else. Do you think that the game will change? There will be easier time for Canadians than now with Trump? Probably not. So in this case, Canada has only one remedy, actually. Of course, it has to retaliate by putting its own duty and tariffs on all American products without exception at all. And then Canada is going to have discussions and preliminary. They're doing quite well about joining European Union, because obviously European Union, they will have, or some countries already have problems with Trump, and if not Trump, then the next administration, J.D. Vance, or some other idiots. So there has to be a political approach how to deal with all that once and for all. So each Canadian prime minister or administration, or tomorrow there will be meeting of all premiers of all 10 provinces in Ottawa. And the point of discussion is exactly that, retaliation for U.S. Tariffs, if any, and proposals of joining European Union. And European Union, by the way, is looking at invitation for Canada to join. So once that will be underway, and remember that population in Canada is mostly of European stock, most of it, now if not 99, so 98% perhaps. We don't have that mosaic of different people in the United States, some of them from South America, some of them from Central America, some of them are from Africa, and some of them are from who knows where. In Canada, it's mostly European stock. So the European countries will be very happy to have Canada as a member of their union. And I think in this case, by the way, it will open a door for UK to join European Union back, because as you know, the King Charles III, he is a king of Canada as well. So if Canada will be part of European Union, so UK will be easily rejoin European Union. And so that will create a unified front for people like, what's his name, Donald Trump, and others similar to that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Get ready to start the Russia, Ukraine, China show very shortly and everything like that. I know that your people are already over there because I'm in the other space and everything like that. But the other thing I was going to say is that, Nick, it looks like you might be getting Greenland, because it looks like there is negotiations from Greenland and everything like that in the whole concept of, I guess we'll have the 51st state of Greenland. Like I said earlier, I don't know how Puerto Rico is going to feel about that, since they've been wanting, at least some people, not every, because there have been some that were in the independence.
Greenland doesn't have enough people to qualify to be a state. They only have 55,000 people. And I don't know how many people you need, but 55,000 isn't it.
Really? Yeah, I don't know either. But the thing is, it may just be a commonwealth or a territory. We have a lot of territories like Guam, Saipan, Puerto Rico. We'll just add that as a territory. And let's find out when we take over Panama, because we need that too. You know, so we're gonna make America great again.
I love how that's gonna lower the egg price.
Here. Wait, Jatomi's about to talk, so it's time to leave.